Okay, we have a fairly thin, flat flake now, and I'm ready to start doing some pressure flaking. For pressure flaking, I'm going to use a copper tip tool. Copper is stronger than antler. Our Stone Age ancestors would have used a piece of antler, but I'm not in the Stone Age anymore. And I've got a pad to protect my hand. It's a fairly thick pad so that my knuckles don't get cramped. So, and many good nappers will use, rather than a piece of terry cloth towel, they'll have about 5 or 6, maybe even 10 layers of very soft leather. And the first thing I've got to do is get a sharp, uniform edge all the way around here, more or less in the middle of the piece. Again, potato chip shaped is bad. So I'm going to use an abrading tool, and I'm going to use the copper tip. You have to get rid of the square edges because you can't drive thinning flakes off a square edge. And that's the hardest part, so I'm going to do that first. And I'm going to do it by doing so-called alternate flaking. I take a flake off one side, and then another flake off the other, always working towards the part with the square edge. So I've got the tip of the tool, and I'm going to be pushing down into the part with the square edge. And I'm going to be using my knees, the muscle in my legs, my adductor muscles, for doing 95% of the work. My hands are just guiding and holding. And this is very important if you're going to be doing a lot of flint napping. Because if you use nothing but your wrist muscles, you will get a repetitive stress injury. And one of the best nappers in the country was not using proper ergonomic principles, and as a consequence, his wrist he's got chronic tendonitis in his wrist. If you're just a casual napper and only do this maybe once a week or less, it's probably not so important. But best to learn to do it properly to begin with. And I'm using the scar of the last flake as a platform for removing the next one. I'm going top to bottom, first on one side, then on the other, and now the square edge is gone. Again, I'm always abrading, and I'm going to look and find out where the high spots are. And there's a high spot, so I'm going to prepare a platform and drive a pressure flake off there. And I can use either the pressure flaking tool, or I can use just a piece of rough rock. And I can drive little short flakes off with that, and that's exactly what I want to do. So I have a nice little acute angle platform here, and I can show you. You can see where I've abraded. That's the part I want to drive off. So I'll hold it here, and using the strength of my legs rather than my hands, I'll try to get a log flake off. Can you get this okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that took a piece off there all the way across. And it also left a perfect platform for taking off the next flake. The strategy for doing flint knapping is frequently taking a sacrificial flake off that will set you up to take off the one that you really want. And here I've decorated it. You can see the ridge that goes along there, and I want that ridge. Okay, and here's the acute angle platform right here, and I'm going to push on that platform and drive that flake off. And I'm going to hold it in such a way that figuring out how to hold the piece is a large part of the challenge. Now, holding it in such a way that nothing is going to touch where the flake is coming off. Now, I apply just the tip of the tool, and I'm squeezing with my legs, and you can see this little flake came off, and it went from here to there, which is pretty much what I wanted to do. Again, we'll do some abrading, and again, the scar of the last flake is going to guide the next one. And you can see the ridge right along here, and that's going to guide the next flake. It says here, and that took off that piece, which is pretty much what I wanted to do. This particular obsidian flakes very easily. It's very homogeneous. It's absolutely beautiful stuff, and sharper than a razor blade. This stuff is sharp on a molecular level. And again, I've got a ridge here and a ridge here. By abrading the platform, I've made it rough so that the copper tool will dig in and not slide, and I've weakened it a little bit so the flake will come off more easily.